right, gentlemen.
Are we live?
You're live.
Or like fake live?
Good morning and welcome to Unwanted Opinions. I'm your host, Justin MacDonald, here with Matthew Fischer.
The one and only.
There's more than one of you.
I fought them all.
Fact checker, Jesse James, and executive producer, Dave Miller.
Welcome back, Dave.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome back.
Cameras are on point today.
They look good.
Yeah. Look real good.
How was Central America?
It was awesome. It was really good.
So you were there documenting
Central America.
Yeah, so I was in El Salvador.
the Central Americanese.
Yeah, there's a group that we work with, World Hope International.
Okay, so this is the same people that you went to
Cozumel
with.
Yeah, and what they were doing was teaching the El Salvadorian EMTs how to do medevacs, so how to treat the patient and then load them up on a helicopter to take them to the hospital. So they brought some professionals, some fire chiefs from the States. They brought some ER physicians from the States. That mixed with a task force from the Air Force and some special ops guys. Did a little bit of training. But it was awesome.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, the El Salvadorian people were great. I think they've got like a really bad rap when you start to like Google as a tourist destination because of like the gang activity.
Yeah.
I hope nobody from the MS-13 is listening right now, but I think it's a lot of bullshit because when I got to San Salvador, I didn't really run into anybody. Like it was, it felt safe. You know,
yeah.
The new young president's doing a lot of things to kind of clean up the area right now, and they've arrested 38,000 gang members in like
38,000
in 2.5 months. Yeah,
Holy moly!
Which is also we're putting a lot of negative eyes on that government because of like what is that? The crimes? What is it called? The crimes against humanity, essentially. Because they're not feeding some of the prisoners and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a bad look.
The gang prisoners.
The gang prisoners.
There's still people, Matthew.
There's still people.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think it's just a different, it's just different than what we're used to anyway. One of the wild things to me is I talked to someone from another country, I can't even remember where, and they're like, oh yeah, you guys are on the danger list for us. And it wasn't like a Middle East company. I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh yeah, like gun violence in Detroit. And I'm like, oh, I've never really thought about it like that. They're like, yeah, isn't like Chicago, don't they call it like the murder capital of the world? And I'm like, well, hold on, chill. It's like my favorite city ever. And I'm like, I guess if you start breaking it down by the numbers, it could look pretty bad if you haven't actually been there. Well, yeah. I do think that, people are a little more protected here than they are in, Central America. But,
yeah, but I know those fearful news stories sell too. I think a lot better than like, hey, it's actually not dangerous versus like crazy gang violence, and it's like that one's a lot more clickable in terms of generating revenue. So I always do like to hear though positive feedback when people travel though, and they're like, yeah, nothing like what we see here. No. Nothing like what we see here.
Cozumel felt more shady.
Really?
Oh, for sure.
So here's the thing
I would bring my family after going there for a week and like walking around by myself.
I mean, but you were with like the army and all of that, though.
When you're on the military base. But I'm talking about me personally.
You just went out. Okay.
I went. I got in Ubers. I walked around. I talked to people, and I don't speak very good Spanish.
Yeah.
And I felt completely safe. I would bring my family there.
I got stuck in a weird, not so fun part of Cozumel, but I wasn't concerned at all. I mean, it was like maybe if it was by myself and things went south, but like mostly it was like, all right, I don't want to be here too much longer than I need to be, but it's not worse than a bad neighborhood.
Cozumel is super unsafe, but I'm just saying like that was kind of the difference.
Interesting.
I was able to say, damn, I would bring my family here. I would not bring my family to the middle of Cozumel.
Well, sure.
Tacos,
Yeah, that makes sense.
My theory on that is like, well, Cozumel is like a tourist destination, and so what do you get with any tourist destination? Like all like the petty crime that feeds on tourists, like the scams and the pickpockets and stuff like that.
Like the police.
Whether it be like police stopping you for just a little bribe, or or you getting scammed with like a taxi that's got like a crazy meter, someone just picking your pocket, just like, so that's my thought where it's just like sometimes if you go,
I got stuck in like a ghetto
like non-touristy spots, it's like sometimes I don't think you have that as much than like the touristy spots because they're feeding on all those people coming through there and who are just like on vacation, half drunk. I know you were working, so that doesn't count for you, but like, Yeah, you got to imagine all
Means
these
you were
beach
all the way
goers.
drunk.
Yeah. So,
What I found crazy, because the family and I, we went through all the like different options for vacation this year, and I'm like, man, basically flight or RV gas anywhere is just out of my budget, just too much. And so we booked a cruise. We've never done a cruise as a family before, and I'm like, we'll see how this goes. Well, I wasn't going to book any excursions because the last time I was on a cruise was like 17 years ago. And I'd go to, you go to Cozumel, and I'm like, I'm just going to go, grab a scooter for $5 and, hit the island. Or, some of the other places I've been, like, I just go off the, beaten path and just have a good time for a fraction of the cost of the excursions. Well, now I realize, like, they're going to their own little islands that they've bought, so that you can't do that anymore. Like, you have to do their excursion or you're not doing anything, because it's not like there's any other commerce there.
you're not stopping in like Cozumel anymore?
I'm sure some cruises do.
Okay.
But we're literally going to Nassau, which we could still get off at Nassau and do something. And, like, the biggest destination is Coco Cay, which is an island owned by Royal Caribbean.
Yeah, they've all been done owning islands, though.
Right.
They're getting better, too, because it used to be just like, here's a beach with some chairs and a bathroom. And, like, now I'm seeing them, and they got, like, water slides, and, like, so they're building the islands up more, but, it used to just be like, here's a private beach.
Oh, yeah, no, it's definitely, they have, like, a whole, like, here's the adult lagoon, here's the water park. The water park's, like, $200 a day, and it's like, oh, my goodness, man, like... it adds up quickly. So.
Well, that's why the cruise tickets are cheap.
Right.
Like they are, for all intents and purposes, cheap.
Yeah.
But it is literally everything else you're going to add on to it. Like, especially the booze, excursions, stuff like that. And you're like, okay, this gets expensive quick.
Yeah. We'll try it. We'll see. Fortunately, we booked it at a point where it's like, if I have to spend more money to make it an enjoyable thing, it's not the end of the world. I can imagine if someone was like, all right, this is it. We're going to, spend our, entire budget for our vacation this year on going to a cruise, and they got to fly down here and all of that. And then they got hit with that would stink. Like, that would be hard.
But those people that do fly to Florida, because like a lot of people do to go on cruises, it's like one more thing about being a Floridian. I feel like some of this stuff is like lost on us. At least it can be lost on me, just because it's like, I don't know, we can drive a couple hours and hit like 4 cruise ports.
Right.
You're like, do you want to go to Tampa, Canaveral, Lauderdale, Jacksonville? Like, pick your choice, And then the other thing is like you go to this private island, and you're like, oh, cool, another beach. This just looks like This looks like Florida Keys, like Miami. Like,
it looks like Destin. Yeah.
Like, when do we go somewhere cool and unique, right? Yeah. But then I'm like, oh yeah, like these people are from Minnesota. Right. These people flew in from like Oklahoma, and so to them they were just like minds blown. They've like never seen a cruise ship before, never been to the beach, and it's just. Oh yeah, I forget. Like in Florida, we're just spoiled.
I actually had a booking issue, and we were supposed to go out of Canaveral, and to make it work, we had to go out of Miami. And I was like, I guess I'll go out of Miami, like this another few hours. And she just starts laughing. She's like, no flights to reroute or anything? And I was like, oh no. Just like, a lot of people don't have the luxury of just choosing, multitude of ports of driving.
You were going to get there quicker, though, leaving from Miami.
Well,
like,
true.
It's a good point.
That drive
that
drive sucks.
It does.
Yeah.
And it's another, like, I don't know, $70 in tolls round trip. Like, it's crazy.
I say, because those days at sea, like, they kind of, like, slow that ship down to be like, you can get there quicker, but, they're like, keep buying our booze at $10 a bottle.
Speaking of tolls, did the big toll booth
To
Orlando just disappear one day?
Gone.
The $2.50 one?
Yeah, you still pay the toll, but it's just gone.
That's crazy.
It's all toll by plate now, right? If you don't have SunPass?
I get fined.
Yeah.
I know when someone uses my trailer because I have like a communal trailer, like, hey, come grab it. And then I'm like, oh, someone must have gone to, somewhere, Orlando or something like that.
It's about time they got rid of them, though. Like, I thought you ever been at a toll booth and you just didn't have the toll?
I did, and then I just stopped stopping.
Okay, so, like, that happened to me one time, and I stopped. I just was poorly planned. I didn't have a SunPass. And I didn't have that much cash, and I realized I didn't have enough tolls to, like, make the way back. And so, like, I'm hitting up. I think it might have been like one of the ones before the $2.50 one or something like that. And so I do stop to the attendant and I'm like, hey man, and I thought fully this was the right thing to do because I'm like, this happens all the time for them. They'd have a protocol. And I'm like, hey man, I didn't budget this very well. I don't have enough cash to like pay these tolls. He's like, what do I do? And he's like,
You're
no. He literally looks at me like he's never had that question before, and he's just like, I don't know. You got to pay, and I'm like, I don't have the money. And
you just drive through.
So he was just like, he was looking at me dumb. Like I thought he'd be like, hey, this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna let you through. They're gonna give you something in the mail. This is forever ago. And he's like, oh. And I'm like, well then open up the gate. I'm gonna have to run the toll. And he just opened the gate, and I just left. And you see the camera flash go off, and I got the bill in the mail and paid it, but. I really thought that they would just have some.
They
kind
do
of
have
like,
a little piece
okay,
of.
Here's our
Jenny
protocol.
just got one within the past year where they're like, "Oh, you don't have cash." They write, here's your license plate.
Didn't do none of that.
Yeah, and then they, you get a copy of it and you just have to pay it.
This guy was like, you would have.
The first time it's supposed to be like a warning though, and they let you off for free. He didn't give you one of those passes.
He didn't know anything. I would have just gone through the Sun Pass lane and just taken my chances, like you say you do.
Yeah.
Because the ones after that, I was like, screw it. I just ran those because I'm like, the attendants don't know. I stopped to be courteous.
Well, I learned because one of my buddy's moms was like, yeah, I'll give you some money to take me to the airport. And we were renting from them. And so I take her to the airport, and as I'm getting ready to head back, and I've got, I don't know, I think I swung by and maybe saw you at this point too when you were at UCF. I've got maybe $4 total, which is my gas to get back and all of that. I'm a kid. And we get there and she's like, all right, well, yeah, just, I don't know, take $10 off rent. I was like, you got any cash? She's like, nope, I just got ruffles or whatever they use in India. Oh boy. So I learned the hard way because I stopped and I was like, yeah, I don't have money. And they're like, well, you're breaking the law. I'm like, okay, I guess.
So they didn't give you any instructions either?
Basically, it was almost the same scenario.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we'll just take down your plate and we'll send you a fine.
Honestly,
like, whatever.
You got more than I did. I thought they were going to have some protocol.
Well, that's like...
Or be like, okay, here's your free pass.
I lost my wallet inside of the San Francisco airport. I had already made it in, and I think I just tossed it in a trash can. I was tired. I think I just tossed it in a trash can.
I hate when that happens.
And
Throwing away money.
I had a red-eye flight, and so now I've got at least 16 hours of travel that I've got to go through without my wallet. But I'm like, whatever. I'm through security, so I'm good.
Hope you don't get thirsty or hungry.
Right. Well, I have a water bottle I can refill, and I had 4 loaves of sourdough bread.
Oh, you're golden.
Yeah. So I do this whole process, and I'm like, hey, I can't believe I made it through. I'm just eating sourdough bread, and hey, can I get an extra Diet Coke, please? On the plane. And I get back, and I go to leave, and I usually use my SunPass for parking. Well, for whatever reason, it wasn't working or something like that. And so they stopped me at the gate. And I was like, man, I have my SunPass.
You can't leave.
And they're like, your SunPass isn't registering. You're going to have to pay. And I'm like, I don't have I know this sounds wild, but I have no wallet on me whatsoever.
I just traveled cross-country sans wallet.
Yeah, so they're like, well, yeah, we don't know what to tell you. And I was like, I know what to tell me. I've been traveling 16 hours eating nothing but sourdough bread. And I know my credit card off the top of my head. So I was like... You either lift that gate and let me go, or I'm just going to plow through it. I'm tired of waiting. And I'm giving you an option. The option is I have my credit card that I can tell you. And so they're like, no, we have to have your license to do that. And I'm like, well, can I call someone and they can give you their credit card? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. And I'm acting like I'm calling someone. I'm clearly not. And they know it. I'm just shouting out my credit card. I'm like, did it go through? They're like, yeah. I'm like, all right. See you later.
You gave him a fake credit card number and it went through.
No, I gave them I knew my credit card number off the top of my head. But they were like, no, we can't accept that. We got to have...
I'd be screwed in that situation. I'm like, I don't know my credit card number.
Yeah. Well, I was this close to I'm about to just plow through this gate.
Yeah.
Because I get it. It's a weird scenario, but you got to have some protocol set up.
Yeah, you'd think.
Hey, this person...
I would have loved for them to be like, park over there. Here's your vest.
Yeah.
Go get in that booth. See me in 8 hours and you're free to go. And then you're in your booth with your Diet Coke and your 4 sourdough, and you're just like, oh man.
I was down about 1.5 sourdough at that point.
Do restaurants still do that? Oh, you can't pay your bill, go wash dishes?
I don't think that they ever really did that.
Is that just like a movie trope?
I would assume as much.
Part of me, deep down, was just I kind of low-key wish that would happen. Oh, you can't pay, but you got the service anyway. Work for it.
I like the concept
Like start
of
making
just
like
working.
untrained people, like
Yeah.
just like throwing them into a job, like pay off your meal. Go
There's
ahead.
a few of those that might be operating here in town, actually.
There's what?
A few of those that might be operating that way here in town, based on the service I've
They're like,
received.
perfect.
lately.
We've been needing a grill cook.
Yeah, right. That's great. They throw you in there like untrained fully, you know, and they're like tickets are coming in, it's lunch hour, and you're like, I just want to pay my meal.
You're at Waffle House. You're like, it was a $7 breakfast.
Yeah.
How long do I have to do this for?
I like the concept.
4
of-
hours.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking with the parking at the airport. Like, I'd have to work a week to pay off, parking for a few days.
Justin's in the booth.
What is it, like $14 a day now?
Oh no, it was last I knew it was $17 a day, and I think it's above that now.
Yeah, you got to do the offsite ones.
Yeah. The trick is if you know you're going to be gone for a while, you just get a hotel that offers free parking and courtesy shuttle, and so you just stay at the hotel the night before, get the shuttle,
And they're okay with your car being left there for 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I didn't know. Like, usually if I'm gone that long, I'm like, hey, can someone drive
When
me
I
to
did
the
Hong
airport?
Kong, I don't. Yeah, I think the little control freak inside of me is like, nope. I want to be heading home on my schedule when I'm done. But when I went to Hong Kong, that was like one of the ones that was like, all right, it's going to be like $600 for me to park or whatever, or $200 for a night for the hotel room, and my car literally stayed there the entire time, and it's like gated and all of that. So,
I mean, like right now, even if you paid someone to drive you to Orlando, like factoring gas
yeah,
and all of the tolls there
Right.
and back and then there and back, like I mean,
getting close.
you have to crunch the numbers because you're like, it might actually be cheaper to do an offsite pay to park for like 5 days than it would be to pay someone to like drop you off. But like if you're going for a long trip like that's what I'm doing. I'm like just like someone drive me to the airport, please.
Please.
Yeah.
But you like being driven around anyway.
Who doesn't?
I don't.
You don't like being driven around?
Not particularly.
Yeah, I'd much rather be behind the wheel, too.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Great interaction there,
Teach their
buddy.
own.
Yeah. Guess we're done with that conversation.
I don't know what to say. I mean, like, yeah, I like driving, but like, there's times where it's like if I'm on the interstate and there's traffic and stuff like that, like I get too road ragey.
I can see that.
You know, and if I'm trying to travel somewhere,
That's why we prefer to be the ones driving.
yeah, and if I'm
you
traveling
drive.
somewhere, like you add in like the stress of traveling too, and then like traffic on the turnpike, like that gets me going way more than it should. And then like the prospect of okay, now they're gonna cram me at 6'4" into this seat that's made for a hobbit for the next 6 hours.
Here we
Cool,
go again.
screw me.
Here we go.
Yeah, screw the airlines. Delta, American, y'all,
Guess who's not getting an upgrade next time he flies?
whatever.
If I trust the person driving, it's different, right? Like, okay, like I can ride with you.
You just gotta trust them enough. Do you trust those pilots?
Or
You can't see the pilot. You don't even know who's back there. It could be Air Bud in that seat.
you ever seen
flying that
autopilot?
plane. You don't know.
The planes fly themselves these days.
They fly from the back?
Huh?
You said back there?
Up there? I don't know.
He definitely does not know.
Where do the pilots fly at? I don't know.
Cockpit.
You just wanted to say that.
Now we got to start the podcast over again.
That's an actual spot on a plane, guys.
But if it's say like Matt driving, I'm like, just drive. It's good.
I do have the problem with like everything being on Google Maps now. That like I'm like, oh, this says 2 hours and 17 minutes. I can beat that.
Well,
I can get
yeah.
there.
I can beat
I
that.
can get
Of
there
course.
at 2:14.
Yeah. Or if we have somewhere to be on time, my wife's a great driver, but she's just like, we'll get there when we get there. Where I'm like, no, I'll drive because I want to get there, even if it's just 2 minutes faster. Like, I'd like to do that, please.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got up there. You got a bunch of. Why is my sexuality up there?
Because it's coming into question.
And then it says Python update, and then it says unrelated.
Yeah.
Is it coming into question?
It's on the board.
Oh well, that's fair.
It was literally in there when we all came in this morning.
Yeah.
Same.
some rando came in and wrote that. Left that
That
for
handwriting
me.
looks pretty familiar.
It's not my handwriting.
Mine neither. So.
It's not Dave's either.
I don't write.
Here's the deal.
I don't write. I wish you were mic'd up for that.
I don't
one.
know if you guys are kidding or not. And it actually was up there because I happened to be a little later this morning.
It was up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to believe us. We are a trustworthy bunch.
That's true.
There's other Justin.
Someone might be questioning another Justin's sexuality.
Yeah, I mean, mine definitely gets questioned. Specifically when Shane and I were single. That was like the big like go-to. That was like the, you know you have like nice guys. We have nice girls too. And like,
I've heard they're worse.
Well, like we're probably both pretty equally bad.
Yeah.
But if if we just weren't returning their advances, the quick go-to is like, oh, you guys are gay? Like, really?
I think that's a common nice girls trope, though.
Yeah.
It's just like,
if you're not interested,
who doesn't want me?
Right.
Oh, if you don't want me, you're gay, you know? And it's just like, wow, you have a very high sense of yourself.
Yeah. I remember quite a few friends that were like, hey,
maybe they just don't want that crazy.
Right. Or just like, hey, we're just
like
here to have a
we've
good
heard.
time.
Like,
We've
heard.
Yeah. Yeah, the stories
it's nothing
abound.
against you. It's just about everything about you. Yeah, like no, we don't want to deal with that.
Yeah. No, or just hey, we're out here to just enjoy each other's company. We're not looking to like
that now. You know what? Now I'm gonna question it.
No, I mean when we're out with the guy friends. Like we go out,
Thank you for your advances, lady. But thank you for your advances, lady. But me and my male friend, we're just out to enjoy each other's company. This is my live-in cousin.
Air quoting the whole time. It's my cousin.
And I have track lighting. Anyway, that's a Steel Magnolias joke for you.
That one went right over my head.
Which really doesn't help my case.
I literally thought, I'm like, you got track lighting?
Yeah. You never seen Steel Magnolias?
No.
They're like, if their names are Gary, Steve, or they have track lighting, they're gay.
What if the home came with track lighting?
Do you have track lighting?
Huh? No. I'm not gay.
Anyway. All right. Well, then what's the Python update?
So we talked about the Python challenge. I'm Beavis and Butthead. Last week, a news article just came out that they, some ecologist or whatever, just broke a record. Apparently, they have a tracker snake.
Wait. Okay, go ahead.
They have a male tracker snake that is like GPS'd up. Like, I don't know where they got the GPS, like, because a collar, you think it would just come off because they ain't got no neck. Like, their whole body is a neck. So, anyways, they somehow have a tracker on them, and, like, they follow this tracker snake, and he basically, I think he goes to, like, have snake love. And they lead him to, like, these giant breeding females. Anyways, they pulled a 215-pound, 18-foot female Burmese python out of the Everglades, I think just a couple days ago. Beat the records, had a deer in its stomach. And so they're like, so now this is they're competing on land and not just water. So they're like, now this is like a problem for like Florida panthers and stuff like that eat the deer because, first it was just like, oh, they're competing on the alligators. But it was just wild to me that just like we talk about that and now all of a sudden they pull this record breaker out.
So if we go get a python, can we call ourselves an ecologist?
I think these people actually were because the competition hasn't started yet. I mean, you can go. Oh, you actually looked into it because I was like, yeah, I'm going to book a python hunting expedition. And I went to, I think it was one of the government websites, and they listed all the people that do them. I clicked on every link, and only one of them, the one I sent you, was the only one that was like a functioning link. Yeah. Huh. So there's like 10 links, and I'm like, none of them, they're like, this doesn't exist anymore. So I'm like, they either went out of business or, But then again, I was like,
or they're python hunters.
That was, at first I was like, they went out of business, and then I was like, wait a second. Python hunters, I don't think are going to be like super tech savvy. Right. Like, y'all live in a swamp and hunt swamp snakes.
Here's the thing.
I'm being very judgy here. So
if you're good at building websites, I'm not going on your Python tour.
Absolutely.
I want to. Oh my goodness.
Is that it? Oh, that's a big girl.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I want to go to a...
But the one guy whose website did work, he was like
legit.
a 2-time champion of the Python competition. Also, he was on one of those reality TV shows, and he had like the name of his tour tattooed on his arm. So like, and he's like an older gentleman, but I'm like, he's got marketing down because every time he's sitting like that on his truck, you see his business name on his forearm.
Let's
so
do it. Let's get a group together.
It's pretty expensive.
It's like
$375 a person.
Per person.
It was like $1,500 a day for 4 people or something like that.
Do you
so
get
it came
to keep
out
the snake?
Well, I thought all the snakes were going to be like those monsters. And the number one way they say to catch the snake is by hand. So I was like, okay, that sounds awesome. Jumping off an airboat onto a snake. Let's go. But then I started seeing some of the pictures, and I mean, like, Like my pet Burmese python was bigger than some of these snakes, you know. So like to me, I'm like, unless that thing's 7 feet or more, like.
Yeah.
I'm not about it. I don't want to be jumping and grabbing a little
big dog.
3-foot snake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I want record breakers. Or close to.
Yeah, I went through the pictures too, and I'm like, these are literally smaller than like the corn snakes I used to have to get out of the chicken coop.
Yeah, and you can't eat them.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing is they
give you the skin though. So if you want some loafers,
Well, if you get, I mean, how many you're gonna get half a loafer with a 3-foot snake?
you're right.
So
You're right. Maybe like a python wallet or something like that.
That'd be pretty cool though.
I don't know. Kill enough pythons to get a whole python suit.
amazing. Hot during summer, but
Very hot during summer. Ladies would love it though.
you could slide right through the humidity.
Wonder how much it is to just rent an airboat and go on our own.
Ooh, it's got to be cheaper than $1,500 a day.
Yeah, but I do want someone to like point us to where the snakes are.
Seems like
Literally, like you look at the swamp, I'm pretty sure it's like gators. Like, is there swamp there? Yeah, there's snakes.
Yeah.
you see a snake with a big antenna off the back of it.
You know, usually like animals, they put collars on them. Like, how are you gonna put a collar on a snake?
You're not.
Ain't got no neck.
All neck.
It's all neck.
So I thought I broke my hand last week. I'm still kind of maybe thinking I have a stress fracture.
Tell us, Kyle, what happened? I mean, Justin.
Yeah. So what I didn't think about prior to going to get the X-ray
Is there studs behind that drywall?
is that I had to explain how I broke my hand.
Only when his hand was back there.
Right.
Zing! that was really good, Jesse.
I'm working out. That's really good, Jesse. I'm working out, and I'm hitting a punching bag, and I didn't have my hands wrapped like I should, and I was already exhausted, and I just kind of did a lazy punch, and I knew immediately, like, crap, no. Not that lazy.
The wrist broke.
Oh, now I understand the headline up there.
Yeah, that had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
So anyway, I hit the punching bag wrong, and I'm like, okay. So I go the next day, try to go to a walk-in, can't find it, so I go to the Mayor Camp ER. And again, I haven't thought about it at all, like, that I got to tell them that I punched something, because to me, I'm like, I'm just working out. And so it hits me right as I'm going through triage that I don't really want to say that I punched something. So they're like, how'd you do it? And I was like, working out. And they're like, did you drop weight on it? And I'm like, well, they probably need to know for science, you know, why. I was like,
yeah, don't lie to the doctors, dude.
Right.
That's like rule number one. Like, if you want accurate care, don't lie to the doctor.
so I was like, oh, no, it was a heavy bag. And so she was like, you dropped a heavy bag on it? I was like, no, I was working out. It was like cardio boxing. And she was like, oh, you punched something. And I was like, well, yeah, I punched the heavy bag. She was like, mm-hmm. And what was the heavy bag made out of? And I was like,
what did they say to you that got you so triggered?
Right. So basically they start...
Are they okay?
Right, yeah, insinuating. And they're like, so are you married? Where's your wife? I'm like,
she's at the other ER.
Yeah, I'm like, I promise you. It's just like I was working out. And they're like, oh, okay, sure. So I'm like, I'm already feeling pretty judged. And then they go to take me to the room.
They totally profiled you too.
Yeah.
They did one look up and down. They're like, mm-hmm.
They go, put him in room 1. So we walk to room 1 and she goes, oh, room 1's dirty. I'm going to have to put you in here. And it's a secure holding area.
Yeah, that picture you sent with like, he had a bubble dome over this like security camera. Or the whatever the flasher.
security camera. There's definitely a camera that had a bubble dome.
Yeah, you sent
on
that to
too.
our chat, and I started laughing. I was like, man, they got him in a padded
Well, they're
cell.
putting me in there, and I realized there's no handle on the inside. And I was like, yo, don't close that door. So I'm already like...
No glass jars of tongue depressors either.
Yeah, nothing, yeah. I'm already trying to explain that, like, I promise I wasn't mad. I was just working out. And they're not believing me, so I'm getting, like, amped up because I'm like, no.
Vein popping out of his
so I'm like,
neck.
chill, dude. Don't get upset that they're not believing you. And they're like, all right, sure, So then they put me in the secure holding room, and I'm like, hey, please don't shut that door because I already know it's just going to be locked. And I'm like, I'm not going to be locked in this room while I'm waiting for you. And she was like, oh,
So
yeah.
you ended up being locked in the room waiting for them.
No, so she started to, and she goes, oh, well, how did you know? And I was like, Well, I saw that it said secure holding, and again in her mind, like I'm
He's used to these rooms,
right? She's like, oh, he knows this room.
He's trying to escape the secure holding room. He knows.
So then she
You're painting a terrible picture for them.
So she goes out and she goes, he doesn't want me to close the door.
Can I get 2 orderlies to room 5, please? 2 orderlies
And
to
the
room
whole
5.
time I'm trying to be like as sweet and funny as I can be, you know, but I'm also trying not to lose patience. So then they roll this like Rosie the Robot iPad in.
I imagine they had a broomstick and they're like pushing it in, you know?
And I'm like
they're not even going in the room.
Yeah.
It's like they're just like pushing it in there for him. Like, talk to the robot. We can replace the robot when he punches it.
So I'm like, what is this? What is this iPad? And they're like, oh, that's how you register now. You'll see an attendant. We'll call you in just a minute. And so it literally, like, I'm FaceTiming with this person taking my information.
They don't use that for everybody.
And I'm like, is this normal? Right, because I've never...
That's not normal.
I
I've
went
never
to
had
the
that.
same one like 6 months ago, if that.
Yeah, they put you in front of a real person.
Right. And I was like, is this normal? And she was like, yeah, ever since COVID. I was like, I don't know. I was here like a couple months ago. We didn't do this, so...
Well, it's normal for people that hit people.
Right. So then they come in and they're like, well, they start asking me about painkillers. And I'm like, why are you asking me about painkillers? And they're like, well, what are you here for? And I'm like, because I think I broke my hand. Like, I just want an x-ray to make sure it's not broken if we got to do something. Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, we're only going to give you ibuprofen. I'm like, I haven't even taken ibuprofen. Like, I'm not even worried about that. And they're like, oh. So I think they kind of piece it together that I might actually be telling the truth. And so, like, by the end of it, they're all, like, laughing, like, patting me on the back, like, yeah, glad you're doing well, thanks for coming in. And I'm like...
Because you had your straight jacket on?
Right, yeah. And I'm like, no, but 10 minutes ago, you thought I was a drug-seeking, like, wife abuser. Like,
you're at an ER. When Lauren was pregnant and we had to go to the ER a couple times, like, I hadn't been really to the ER anytime recently, and I show up and I'm like, oh, this is as crazy as I thought.
Right, the dregs of society.
That and just like this, like a dude was sitting in there who got hit by a car on his motorized bicycle, and like he's literally like scraped up down the whole side of his body, bleeding. Great spirit on that kid. Like, he was laughing and joking, but I'm sitting there just like trying not to stare at him, and I'm like, half his face is gone, his arm is probably broken, and they're like, yeah, go sit in the corner. And I'm like, this is nuts.
It sounds like you're describing the first time I met Taylor from Mutiny.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
he got hit by a car?
He was, on his Vespa.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, he got clipped or it got hit by something, but he was all bandaged up and bleeding.
Jeez.
He kept walking up to me outside the lodge. He's like, "What's your name?" And I was out there by myself, and I was like,
"Here we go."
Get away from me. I don't have any cash on me, sir.
I was like, I don't remember what's going on.
I don't have any cash on me. Thank you, though.
Yeah, what a wild night.
Well, you could have just told him, be like, I was with my kids doing a daddy-daughter day, and you know those arcades where you punch? I was trying to show off, and I punched one really hard. That would have been a more believable lie.
And they would have been like,
next time
I don't like how quickly you came up with that lie. I'm going to have to check in on
Lauren. We were talking to think of that.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't listening.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those, like...
So you hit your daughter at the arcade, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, maybe this...
Yeah, she wasn't impressed, so I gave her a little pop. Yeah.
Maybe it's the ER staff is just, like, super cynical.
So that was the other thing, too. I was like, can I get a copy of the x-ray? And she goes, yeah, give me a minute. And she comes in with her...
Her phone?
She comes in with her phone, and she goes, you just want to take a picture of my screen? And there's a big crack across her screen, right across where my hand feels broken. And I'm like, is this the best we got? And again, I'm trying to like...
When you sent that to us, you're like, it's not broken. I literally, the first thing I thought was like, sure as hell looks broken to me. You look like you broke every bone in your hand.
Yeah.
So that was a picture of a phone?
Picture of a phone that was cracked.
That makes all the sense in the world. I wasn't going to say anything. I was like, whatever. If they told us it's not broken, it's not broken.
Yeah,
right.
I'm not a doctor, but your hand's broken.
And so I'm laughing at this point because I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I'm like, I swear these people are just doing whatever they can to like try to like edge me over to just see. Like, yeah, let's see.
Like, with as much as we pay you for healthcare, I'd at least expect two things: your medical screen not to be broken, and you'd be able to provide me with a freaking printout of my X-ray,
right. Or the digital file, or whatever. Because I was like, "Can you airdrop it to me?" And she was like, "Some kind of Eastern bloc," and she was like, "Airdrop? No, what is airdrop?" I'm like, "Okay,
I'm taking it.
I'll take a picture of your broken screen. Thank you. Yeah,
thank you for laughing, Jesse.
Thanks. You're welcome.
Good times."
I'm glad your wrist is not broken.
The other crazy part about this is when I'm talking to Rosie the robot paying my stuff, she goes, your copay is $300.
Ooh.
Which I already knew. But she goes, if you pay it in full today, we'll give you 20% off. And I was like, bet. Like, now we're negotiating our negotiated rates. Like,
yeah.
This is the world we're in.
And then if you pay incrementally and then just stop paying and then they want payment and then you negotiate again, be like, what if we just call it even and I give you $10?
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, all right.
Just give us something.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy.
What you need is one of those like wrist guards for like when you're like rollerblading.
Yes.
With like the little hard plastic thing on the palm.
Mm-hmm.
That way, like since you can't punch now, you can at least like slap people.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I still punch.
Not with that wrist.
Just not really well.
Yeah, you just gotta make sure that thing's locked up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have it wrapped up.
Well, I worked out yesterday. I had it wrapped up. It was fun. Like
Did
I'm
you
still
box
taking
them?
it easy. Yeah.
Okay.
You punch some?
I mean, I took it easy, but yeah.
Heard that.
Heard that.
There you go. Well,
You know how it goes.
I'm glad.
was that?
That was an elbow he's gonna throw instead of the punch.
They had a cramp.
So I'm not.
not
I'm
great.
not crazy about the term Karens. Basically, any term that just gets overused, I get annoyed with it. Right?
No cap.
No cap.
Guys.
I think the term's mid. Anyway, it is like a nice, it tells you exactly the type of person you're dealing with. And it's not necessarily, white, female. It could be, in my case, I saw 2 different examples of this over the weekend. Where this lady, this actually just happened, I think it was yesterday or the day before. This lady's walking into Publix, and she's got a dog in her arms.
Oh God.
And
Despise those people.
she goes to this kid like grabbing carts, and I don't know if you've been to Publix before, but
Don't bring your dog to the grocery store or a restaurant.
right.
Ugh.
I don't know if you've been to Publix before, but they hire a wide variety of people
Yeah.
to go get the carts, right? So she goes to one of these kids that's grabbing the carts and goes, "Can I bring my dog in?" And he's like, "I don't know." And she's like, "Can I bring my dog in?" And he's like, I don't. Can you? You know, like he's not. He doesn't know. He clearly doesn't know. And she goes, "So you want me to leave him in the car?" Okay, so you want me to leave him in the car? It's 110 degrees. I guess you want me to leave my dog. You want my dog to die. And she's like,
to all you people out there, leave your dog at the frickin' house.
Right.
Unless you go to the dog park or like one of those places that are like, hey, we openly accept dogs on the patio. Leave your dog there. Like.
Right, and so like I'm slowing down because I'm like, it's none of your business, dude. Just stay out of it. 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 And he's like, doesn't know what to say. He's like, I don't want the dog to die. It's like, so my car. That's the only option. I can't just run in. And I was like, no, ma'am. No one's saying to leave your dog in your car. Leave it at home if you're worried about it, or just go pay the $50 to make it a service dog. Like I don't really care. I don't want to. Like and it's like a little nappy, like gross.
It's
obviously
it's always a little yippy, like white, long-haired. Like it gets so mad that you got to just cut the hair off. Type
Chinese crested.
Yeah, whatever. That sounds about right.
Right. Well, I don't know. But it's just like she was just so like
it's like a long-haired rat.
It escalated that quickly to just be her just yelling at him, and of course like that like straw man argument of like, oh, I guess you just want me to leave it in my car.
Like those are the only 2 options,
right?
Like, you willfully chose to bring your long-haired rat into public,
right? Because he's going to, of course, go, well, no, I don't want that. But I'm like, you're literally out here yelling at someone that's.
See that
oh
thing
God,
No, it's like a multi-poo, like one of those like.
I also feel like you should get pulled over and ticketed if you have that same small dog in your lap. So many times I'm like, this person's texting and driving, they're drunk, they're just going like 30 miles an hour under the speed limit, and then I pass them and it's like they got their little long-haired rat dog in their lap and their windows down, and so they don't want it to jump out, and I'm just like. Kids have to be in car seats when they drive so they don't climb on you and like cause a distraction. It's just like your dog should be secured too.
It's not for their safety, folks. It's so that they don't climb on you and cause a distraction.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
They should come out with a dog seat.
They should. Well, I'm just saying it just.
Real quick, they used to have this show where they would like try to show inventions and get funding. It may have been Shark Tank, actually. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like Shark Tank.
Anyway.
I'm pretty sure you just described.
I think it's still on, too.
Yeah, well, I was like, I think I was still living with my parents, and I haven't lived with my parents since like 2004. So But it was this guy that had a baby car seat, and it's not funny, okay? I think he lost a kid. It's not funny. So he was like, I'm coming up with a car seat that, like, absorbs him.
Why are you laughing?
It's not laughing.
You are 100%. You can't even keep yourself together right now.
It's not funny.
Like, the more you talk about...
But it was, like, supposed to, like, provide extra safety for a kid in the instance of a car wreck. But it was like...
What is
Get
happening?
yourself together. I don't even know what's so funny.
It was, like, on a swivel. So you have a car seat, and then, like, a car seat inside of it on a swivel. So when the impact came, this thing just...
like a hamster wheel.
Yes. It's like spun around aggressively until it like eventually slowed down. And
So like the hamster wheel absorbs like all of the centrifugal force of like the car wreck, and it like turns it into like that like spinning energy.
Yeah, like a
Poor kid just throwing up.
Right.
Well, here's the thing: is kids don't need to spin to throw up. I've been learning they just throw up all the time.
Yeah.
So, if anything, maybe the spinning them like that keeps the throw up down.
I think it caused other issues because they're like, and they had to then like approach this person like, hey, this is great. You're heading in the right direction. Thank you. But like, no, we can't put them in that. It's going to just spin their
Sometimes with Shark Tanks, it's just like, did you run this by anybody before you came on the show?
Is Shark Tank still on?
I don't know.
Oh, man.
Or they do run it by people, and they just have all the people. They're like, it's great, it's great. And it's like they're not getting any honest feedback.
Right. When you see people that are like, no, I've spent $400,000. I'm like, how did you get $400,000 to be able to spend on this stupid idea?
Yeah.
Like,
and how has no one told you, hey, maybe you shouldn't spend $400,000 on this stupid idea?
that's why people hate coming to me like, hey, I got an idea. They're like, oh, you're a dream crusher. Like, okay, or I just don't think it's a great idea, or I don't think that your idea to get it to market's good. Like, you need someone telling you that stuff. Like, nah, I'm just going to ignore that.
And that person needs to be Mark Cuban.
Is he still on the show?
I don't know. He's the only one I could think of.
What's the deal with his pharmacy stuff?
I don't know.
Speaking of which.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm having a hard time gathering any information, not only from you, but when I actually read articles. So when
I'll make something up for you.
They had a headline that was like, yeah, and I see like the memes. It's like Mark Cuban offers like,
he's making like his own like generic drug company or something.
Right, and
like
so
that.
I look into it, and I can't tell enough about it because everyone's like, yeah, he's making low cost drugs, and it's like, well, kind of just seems like he's making drugs. I'm not saying that I don't know the deal. I just can't get enough information. And this goes to yesterday. Ask you and Zach. I'm like, hey, what's the deal with Juul, specifically the company Juul, being banned from selling any products in the U.S.?
That's wild.
It is them specifically.
It's them specifically. And so I ask, and I think most people's immediate reaction is like, oh, yeah, getting rid of vaping, that's a good thing, blah, 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 or bad thing, or I don't care. Well, I don't care what your stance is.
Company.
Right, but that was the weird thing. It's like, no, it's literally just one company. Like, as if like Big Tobacco, they're like, all right, Misty Slims, get out of here. Marlboro, you're good. Like everyone else. Like
I get that, but it would be more like them being like, okay, Philip Reynolds, you're out. But
is
like
it Philip Reynolds or Philip Morris?
Philip Morris, R.J. Reynolds. Okay. But like after you said that, I was like, I didn't know that happened. So I just started, going online. It's like, well, Juul controlled like 75% of the vape market. Right. So it's like, well, that's number one reason why. It's like they're 3/4 of it.
Yeah, but it still seems weird to go after a specific company.
But then I started looking, and it's like they've had a lot of other problems where they've been accused, and they said they don't. Of course, they always will. But they're like, you have totally been marketing this to kids because there's been like this huge uptick. And that's what I was saying. Like, it's no coincidence that like things like the truth, and like smoking of actual cigarettes with like youth, like they've worked hard to like get that on the decline, and people are finally realizing like, yeah, this is like smoking's crazy, like I was a smoker for 10 years, it's just like it's like the dumbest thing I've ever done. But like, so I understand it's the dumbest thing I've ever done, guys. Okay. Yeah, you don't argue that. That's
legally.
Legally. That I can talk about openly.
Yes.
So it's like no coincidence in my mind that like those numbers start to drop, and then all of a sudden e-cigs come on the scene, and then like so youth usage of nicotine just now skyrockets. And like if I wanted to smoke a cigarette in high school,
you're giving me all the arguments that I'm sure that were made in Congress to make this happen. Like,
yeah.
I get the thought
so
of
we
going,
shouldn't do anything.
No. I get the thought of you sound like me. I get the thought of going, hey, we need to work on tobacco and nicotine cessation and all of that. Like, I totally understand that. It's just in my recollection, I can't remember a single time where they just chose one specific.
So ban all of them.
I'm not standing up on either side of this. I'm anti-prohibition personally. I don't really care, but I just still think it's weird that they would pick one company. And I get that they make the argument of like, oh, well, it shows that their early days of their advertising were to kids. Like, yeah, well, we're still selling edibles that look like Flintstone vitamins and stuff like this stuff is happening all the time. And again, I'm not saying that we should take away any of that or that we should keep any of that, right? This isn't that argument. I just thought it was weird that they specifically chose to do that company. And when I tried to read more about it, is what I was getting at, I was just further confused. They gave stats that were like, oh, well, they're one of the biggest, and vapes in general have encouraged kids to smoke and all of these things. And it's like, okay, all of these general things, I understand why you're making these steps. And again, I don't really care either way.
But vaping is still allowed.
Right. Vaping's still allowed. Vape companies, and to me, the bottom 25% of those suppliers are going, yep.
Well, the next biggest one is Views, which is owned by Philip Morris or R.J. Reynolds.
Right.
So it's just like, okay, so the next biggest vape company is owned by is the vape arm of already one of the largest tobacco companies. But then again, 35% stake in Juul was bought by the other largest tobacco company. Right. So it's just like they had a huge controlling interest in that. And so those big tobacco jumped on that bandwagon a long time ago because you get rid of Joe Camel, you get rid of these advertisements. It's like I have a 1989 Tyco RC slot car set, and the two cars that came in it with Anheuser-Busch and Camel cigarettes.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we still have it. That's awesome. But back in the day, you'd buy kids' toys and it was cigarettes on it, and then kids started smoking cigarettes and drinking beer. Guess what? I grew up drinking Budweiser and smoking Camels. Am I blaming Tyco? No, not necessarily. Those are life choices. Did they probably have some sort of psychological impact on my brand loyalty? Probably. I don't know. It's just for me. I'm just I don't know. When I was young, if you want to smoke a cigarette, that was so much of a hassle than it is now. And I think and that's the old person in me because I'm we had to go somewhere to where you wouldn't see it because you're burning something. Now you smell. Now your hands smell. Now you have the butts that you need to dispose of. And it's nowadays it's a USB stick and it tastes like Fruity Pebbles and there's no odor whatsoever. You just vape in front of your parents and they probably won't even tell. So it's just it's just a lot easier, I think. And now kids are getting these habits, these terrible habits, and it's they're deadly. So I'm not opposed to it. I'm is it the best thing? No, but they're doing something, They're doing something to try and stop the explosion of youth getting addicted to nicotine.
Yeah, again, you're fighting a battle that I don't care about. I don't care. Again, I'm anti-prohibition.
I'm missing your point. You're mad that you didn't get the information you wanted.
Well, yes.
and then people did something about a cause, and then you're like, well, I don't care.
My point is I've never been in a situation where they've specifically said one company.
I'm going to be mad if they do something. I'm going to be mad if they don't do something.
You're mad anyways.
Yeah.
I'm always mad.
You're making points that aren't even hidden. The thing is if you want to break something up, break up Disney, break up these companies that, own actual monopolies. But you're oh yeah, I'm happy that we went after one company for, nicotine.
I think it's a health thing, not a monopoly thing.
Right.
I agree with your monopoly statement.
But that's what I'm getting at is I've not been in a situation that I can remember where they just said one company, this product is still widely available in the U.S., but you, company A, can no longer sell this. The largest company doing this.
Nikes can no longer be sold here.
To me, it's just strange to me. If they said, hey, no, slave labor for, making your shoes anymore, okay, that makes sense. And they go, all right, well, Nike, you're out. Even though you've changed your ways of making shoes, you're out. You can never do it again, even though all of these are still available that have done that.
And y'all need to calm down before you end up back in the ER with that limp wrist.
Yeah, talking about hitting stuff now.
I'm not. I'm just saying. My whole thing is it's just one company.
Yeah.
It's the biggest company. And it's not just like about shoes or like monopolies. I mean, like it's a health crisis.
Aren't you someone that thinks that we should legalize all drugs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes a ton of sense.
Same.
Get out of here, vape. Anyway, you guys want some clean Coke? Some Special K?
Yeah.
Line on up.
Clean drugs are better than not clean drugs.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So
Agreed. So are cigarettes better than vape juices?
non-filtered.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they're more addicting than all those, and they kill more people than all of those combined. So, like, they're pretty bad. They're just so like widely ingrained in society. People don't realize how bad like nicotine is in general.
Yeah, but vapes
are so new on the market. But yeah, you're gonna be finding people with problems from long-term vaping. You're inhaling anything.
No, but you just made a I'm trying to clarify your statement.
I love the way you argue.
With like trying to find out what you're actually saying.
Sounds like
you said combined they kill more than.
Okay, nicotine combines more people. Cigarettes do, but like vapes are the new cigarettes though. Like you can't inhale something like that for so long and not have it affect your lungs.
I'm not saying you can or can't. I'm just simply trying to understand what you're saying. So cigarettes are the bulk of this stat that you're saying. Nicotine in general, because is it nicotine or is it tobacco?
Tobacco and nicotine.
Because vapes aren't tobacco, are they?
Huh?
Vapes
are nicotine.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And you don't. So nicotine's fine. Like nicotine is like there's no health problem with that.
Are you asking me?
Yeah,
I'm not the one saying stats. I think that there are some cognitive benefits to nicotine, probably, but the cons outweigh the pros for sure. Just like there's cognitive benefits to caffeine, but you can have too much caffeine, which I think we all have too much caffeine right now.
Possibly.
Speak for yourselves.
You got like 18 ounces of a Mountain Dew in you right now. You have too much caffeine.
I'm just getting started.
Oh, really? Ugh.
Yeah.
How many ounces a day?
Of caffeine.
Of Mountain Dew.
How many ounces of caffeine?
Working that ounces of caffeine.
I don't know. I'll probably drink 3 of those this morning.
You need a Mountain Dew sponsorship.
You're right.
Well, you have some Mountain Dew.
Yeah. I got a backpack and an iPad.
Would you get a Mountain Dew tattoo if they sponsored you?
No.
Really? You wouldn't just like blend it in with your other tattoos?
No.
Huh?
You have an iPad?
Yeah.
Or an iPad cover?
A Mountain Dew iPad.
They sent you a straight up Mountain Dew iPad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be
It
drinking
has a
Mountain
special
Dew
load
too.
screen.
Does it?
Has a special video on it.
Oh, same thing.
Anyway.
I knew I was close enough.
Load screen.
I'll show you a load screen.
Do you want to hit any of your others, or are you jacked up enough that we're just going to skip past it?
I'm too jacked up right now.
All right. I got face routine up there, not face poutine, not fake POTUS. Face routine. So I see this reel, and it said, point of view, a guy putting on face cream, and this chick just like puts on face cream.
That's how you do it.
Right. Just like anyone would. And I like watched it waiting for the joke, and it went to the next video. So I was like, oh, I must have missed something. So I go back, I watch it again. Nope, goes to the next video. And I'm like, what am I missing? And I go in the comments, and people are like, so true. And I'm like, what am I missing? And then I like started to put it together. I'm like, oh, is it saying this is not how you're supposed to apply face? Like,
How else are you supposed to apply it though?
Well, based on the messages that I got back, in an upward motion, never a downward motion. So I posted this video, and yeah, a bunch.
What is their reasoning for that?
I guess you're like pulling, it's like gravity or working, you're pulling your
Those same
pores
people
and
have those
it goes
rollers
down.
with like stones on them.
Yeah, you ever use those though?
No.
They do make
I've
they
seen
help
one.
the
I'm
eye
like, what the heck
puffiness.
is that? Like I see them at like the Chinese
an
dollar
ice
store at the
roller?
flea
Feels
market.
good. Yeah, like the little ice roller thing.
I don't know. That's one product where I look at it, I'm like, I feel like that's a line of BS. Like that's a rock on like a roller that you're just like
Rock and roller. Is what
I don't know. I just don't. So to me, like the pulling, I feel like they're just gatekeeping face lotion.
Yeah, I
Like
can
let
see-
men, at least the man's putting it on.
Right, and I mean, some people said that too, but they're like, yeah, you're supposed to like dab with your pinky near your bags, and
That's
then
how I do it.
you push upward. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so I just this whole thing. So I'm gonna do a video of my FaceTime routine because I'm like, man, I thought I was doing all right, but apparently,
Dial soap.
yeah,
Yeah.
Irish Spring for me, but close enough.
Yeah. Either work.
Yeah.
As soon as I start using any kind of fancy like soap or face wash, I have skin problems and I break
Break out.
I buy cheap soap, like Dove and below, like Dove being like the nicest, but like Irish Spring or Dial, it's like my face is fine.
I will say this. I used to deal, I thought it was always because I rode a motorcycle, and I was like, man, my face would just be oily all the time, and I'd wash. And then finally, Bobby Stan's wife, Nina, was like, hey, you're drying your skin out, and your skin's producing more oil to get away from, having dry skin. So she's like, I know it sounds counterproductive, but just put a little face moisturizer on there. And I'm like, no, that's going to make my face oily. Anyway, I started doing it. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm not producing
my forehead's so oily,
excess.
I'm surprised America hasn't invaded it yet. Probably because I'm using Dial soap on it.
Yeah.
And it's too much land.
So, yeah.
It's perfect for them. These oil fields are producing. Dave's going to be shooting a documentary on my head soon when they're doing training exercises.
Try a little moisturizer.
Nah.
Okay.
Need the whole bottle.
Yeah.
Nah. Yeah. You act like I got money for that much lotion.
But that was one of those things where it was like, oh, okay, I guess that makes
sense. That's half a bottle
sense.
right there.
Now I know. So that's, I'm like, all right, well, I'll start using face moisturizer.
I just don't believe the downward, upward motion. Like,
yeah, it seems like.
So someone did come back. Pam Calero came back and said, look, I judged you on this, but then I saw Jennifer Lopez doing her FaceTime routine, and she pulled down. I'm like, listen, if J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez...
She don't look like she aged at all.
Right. I'm sure it has nothing to do with any kind of Botox fillers or plastic surgery.
She's from the block.
She is from the block, so she says.
Yeah.
Except for, wasn't it her? She's like, oh, I'm going to my old neighborhood.
No one from a neighborhood knew her.
Yeah. They're like, who are you?
It's like Kid Rock.
I used to live here.
Like, you ain't from a trailer park, Kid Rock.
Yeah, but he has a White House that he lives in. He built a replica White House.
But still.
With a golden shower.
That's one of the, like, I'm not, like, necessarily a Kid Rock fan or anything, but when I found out, like, he came from a pretty, like, decently well-to-do, affluent family, and he's not some, like, I'm like, man, that just shattered my impression of, I was like, I thought
shattered my high thoughts of Kid Rock.
I was just always like, hey, good for that, Detroit guy who lived in a trailer making his way, like.
Felt like it was going to come out way different than how you worded it.
Yeah.
No, it's one of those stories where I thought they came from, nothing,
welcome to almost every big, music star
it's like,
ever.
once again, it's like, oh, okay, that's how you got successful.
Like, oh, when I found out Rick Ross literally stole his name from Rick Ross, and basically all your music is
50 Cent's a stolen name too.
From who?
From 50 Cent.
From a robber named 50 Cent who would go around in the early 80s robbing rappers.
Yeah. That's funny.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, but 50 Cent has a little bit of street cred, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Where Rick Ross, I don't think, does.
No, not being a former corrections officer.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep. All right, where we at?
Job I'd never want.
We'd all have those jobs straight out of high school that we hated.
Not a corrections officer.
Not me either, but
well, that's like, that's a tough one. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. We hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.